Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a different kind of video. There is something, kind of a topic in the community that I wanted to talk about, and I'm also going to be talking about people within the community, so if you feel a little weird about that, forgive me. That's not my intention to cause some sort of weird combative thing. Also, for love of God, this is not in any way me wanting drama or anything like that. I strictly want to talk about ideas and not people. I think a lot of people involved, I would argue, probably are good people. I don't know them personally, so I can't say anything like that, but they seem like good, kind, trying to do better in the world kind of things, or people, sorry. So I'm not coming after anybody like that, but I do want to talk about the subject itself, and I hope that's okay, and I hope this doesn't come across as like alienating my viewers to think a certain way or anything like that. I just think it's interesting. And also, I'm somewhat in a small, weird, but kind of way, at least for me, like my idea of like, oh, am I part of this kind of problem / topic? And I think slightly I might be. So I wanted to rationalize and kind of talk about how I see some things, and also, again, just things I don't think people... I think oftentimes what happens within conversations, at least in my opinion, is people take the weakest form of an argument and they start to use that to like take that apart, which is good because it's a weak-ass argument. But then they conveniently sometimes don't look at this, in my opinion, stronger argument. And again, I would like to just reiterate, I'm not coming for anybody, I'm just nobody. I'm a nobody online, right? I'm just trying to make you guys interesting videos and trying to give value to you. That is basically it, trying to come up with something that can be valuable to you, that you would care to give me a second of your day. Cool, go team. Now, the first thing at the top, I'm gonna start name dropping people, forgive me. I actually really like Tectone as a creator. I think he's very charismatic, he's a little bit abrasive, but that's just people. People are wonderful and weird and odd and have their weird like twitches and nuances and like weird shit. Which is great, makes people unique. So again, I'm not coming after Tectone in this instance at all. I'm just coming after the topics that we're discussing and the ideas and etc. So I hope that makes that pretty clear. Also, I'm a nobody, so who cares what I say? But if you care to listen to hear me ramble about certain subjects, then hopefully you stick around and hear me out. Now, for those guys who do not know the supposed kind of back and forth / reasons for these videos and these creators kind of being at odds, just not at odds, but just in the kind of zeitgeist of the Genshin community, Tectone is very, very much, it seems, an avid proponent of no leaks. Hates leaks, thinks it spoils everything, and it just ruins it, especially when you don't want them. And now we have another person called Mattjestic. Now he is very much, I'm pretty sure a lot of people who know him in the League community in terms of Genshin is kind of the head of the spear. He's the person who's constantly uploading videos about upcoming weapons, how much Primo Gems we're going to get with the new events and to be excited for that. And we're going to talk about that in a hot minute. I want to try to be as fair as I possibly can when talking about all these things. Again, I'm not coming for the people, I'm coming after the arguments and there may be actions beside that. Because I think those are the things that are interesting. I don't know these people, and I would never claim to. I just think that the words that they're using and the way that they're defending themselves can be great, good arguments, and bad arguments. And also I want to try to leverage the strongest argument for each side, if that makes any sense. Anyways, so person uploads leaked content and future content. Person hates those said things, and also company at large, the person who is Mihoyo, seems to not like them that much at all, the whole leaked content. And we're going to talk about everything in a hot minute, but I would like to go through, ideally, Tectone's video. We're going to watch it. You're going to see this glorious, not quite as bearded man as you once seen before, which is a shame. But anyways, and again, the reason why I feel like I want to talk about this with you guys, not only because I think it's interesting, because I kind of try to sit in this gray area, and not to spoil too many things, but I do think Tectone has some, like, a strong arguments for some things, and then other times, I don't exactly agree, and we'll get into that in a minute. But one of those things is he says that leaked content, that the viewer has no control or choice over experiencing the leaked content from the viewer's perspective, sucks, because you're getting spoiled without you, like, betting in or, like, accepting the idea that I'm going to go into this ass beating. It's like kind of a person going into a comedy room or a comedy stand-up routine and then just getting upset at it even though you walked into that ass beating, so it just doesn't make any sense. I agree with that. I think that that's an amazing rule of thumb for anyone who does any leaked content, is do not show characters in your thumbnail. Maybe you could show like the silhouette of something. That's not too much of a spoiler. It's kind of like, oh, there's something coming. That video is about that. Whatever, I can look away. Also, maybe put a spoiler or speculation, maybe before whatever comes next. That way you're not like, hey, here's a bunch of, that way people have more than enough room to like say, okay, this is not what I want at all. And we'll talk about company versus consumer and all these kinds of things. I think that's very interesting. But without further ado, let's jump into Tectone's video, because that can kind of help me go through all of these things. And I'm going to cut out a lot of the weird Mattjestic, him and that kind of weird shit, because it's irrelevant, I think, to the larger question, which is leaks okay? What are the negatives to leaks? And what are the also positives I don't think people talk about? And I think it's one of the things that's appearing everywhere within Genshin is the lack thereof interest in the game and interest for the future, because sorry, an event that's 5 seconds or 5 minutes to complete is not going to drum up anyone and make them interested about what's to come. The video that they just released about them like showing trailers and shit, that can do that, but they don't do that. So anyways, stop.
What were your thoughts on the Mattjestic video?
Also, one thing I didn't do a great job of explaining is the fact that, like, to complete the weird cycle of this kind of back and forth situation, essentially, one of the reasons why this has kind of all come to a head, and it's even talked about within the community right now, is because this creator that made leaks, Mattjestic, got claimed, a lot of his videos got claimed, seemingly by, like, Russian bots, which seems really sketchy and really weird, and almost seems like I could see. We'll get into it in a little minute. But anyways, that's basically why this has come to an end, is because Mattjestic's channel is apparently about to be deleted, supposedly. Hopefully he can fight it off, but we'll get into that later.
He was a dude who made leak content for YouTube, okay? Now, the problem with leak content is that when you type in Genshin Impact to your search bar, Genshin Impact leaks will also come up as well for the recommended feed. So,
okay, I want you guys to kind of benchmark that, because he's not wrong. But I also think that this is like shooting yourself in the foot, because we're going to talk about it in a minute. I think, yeah.
A lot of people were getting spoilers on content that they didn't want, but there's also another side where people say, yeah, but leaks help free-to-play players prepare. And both of these are true. One of these sucks. One of these is good. But here's the thing. I'm sure that you can agree that both of these don't have to be a side of the same coin, right? Because if the leaks were just to be posted on a different website that did not have a search engine optimization to recommend you leaks when you don't want them, then leaks are generally seen as a net positive rather than a net neutral or a net negative.
Okay. So, this is one of the things where, like, you can have it both. You can have your cake and eat it too. And I would be like, yeah, I agree. I believe that that's, again, the issue is people who do not want something are being forced it upon them, correct? Yes. But why does it have to be on another site? And to me, this is I'm going to talk about it more, but this is kind of like one of the pillar reasons for leaks in general, is not the preparation guides, which can be very helpful for free to play, and I don't think ends up netting a negative from how his economy balance or money intake or money gain, especially with almost all the time whenever people talk about the future, it's with excitement, not fear. You know, in fact, the not knowing the future is what leads to fear and what leads to so much chaos within the community, because people don't know where the fuck we're going or what we're going to get or what we're going to be, if we're going to have something fun to do. Anyways, the whole search algorithm. This is one of the things that I think is really, really interesting in terms of the overarching theme of leaks within Genshin. YouTube in general is a ecosystem. It's an algorithm in the back end, and it has a search engine to it. So, of course, if you have an account and you interact with certain content, you are going to be given that said content. Now, Tectone's argument, unless I'm mistaking it, is just by you interacting with anything Genshin, you end up getting the one thing, the leaks. Now, again, I would also like to argue the only reason that's happening is because people are watching said content. And there's value in that, because that people who watch that content, who are being pulled in through other sources or other means, whether that be Twitter, people going to the Twitter comments thread and then seeing Xiao for the first time and saying, who is this character? And then a person linking them to a video of a person excitingly talking about the future. And they're like, what is this game? Oh, it has this cute anime boy or hot waifu or whatever the fuck you could want, or this cool gameplay. Cool, now I'm going to, it's free, I'll try out the game, and now you have a potential prospective customer within your rank. Also, what do you call it? As a content creation, that viewer, I doubt heavily would have ever gotten into the YouTube Genshin ecosystem sphere if another random person wasn't offering a value or a service that they were interested in that pulls them into the community. Now, if you are making superior content that isn't just reading off of a notepad, if that is your argument, then ideally those people that person brings in will eventually get fed around the community and given to people who are higher quality content creators. Let the community decide in that regard. But to say that there isn't an inherent value in that, and I think, again, this is one of my things about Genshin, the whole system itself, is like interest is what the community desperately needs. So when you take away people who give comfort and interest in the future, which Leaks does do, even if it's just a slight glimmer of there's a character that might have this ability and that's interesting and that's cool. So that's what I mean by ecosystem. That's the argument, I think, for Leaks offering a great service to everyone in the community, and even, yes, largely MiHoYo. Is the idea that you are basically, it's an ecosystem, so when this person does well and starts sharing content and it's around, great. Do I think there's a good argument for people shouldn't be forced to see that? Yes, I think that's great. But to say that that doesn't exist here and that everyone in the community doesn't benefit from people pulling in different eyes, why does that video get so many viewership or views? Or why does it have such high engagement for people excited in the comments to see what's coming to the future? And you're saying that should be relegated to an entirely different site. Okay, but that means, and this is something that I've been seeing everywhere in terms of every Genshin channel, in terms of every streamer, viewership and etc. and all that kind of stuff is down. Now that's maybe okay for you, but if that does hint at there's a reason for the game tapering off when it comes to success. And the only thing that I can see as a causality effect is when people, MiHoYo right around a couple months ago, started really locking down on content creators when it comes to leaks. So much so that it's, to me, drumming down the excitement for the future, because it's not exciting to see an event where we're playing badminton and it takes 5 minutes to play badminton and then you're done. And then what the fuck else are you going to do? Oh, if you are a person who can buy and purchase a great deal of characters, then you at least have the characters to fall back on. But if you're not those people who have those characters to buy every single new character ever, you're kind of stuck with your fucking finger up your ass, looking around like lost, not knowing what to do. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, but it as much as whales are great, but whales are enabled by a bunch of random viewers who can only give maybe $2 to a streamer, eventually cumulatively coming together to see what a character can be at max constellation or something like that. So again, the point that I'm trying to get across with this specific thing is the idea that we should take content that is excitement for the future, that is specifically only for people that want to see what is coming in the future, and relegate that to a different site entirely. That is going to super cut down, I think, on every kind of random new viewer that could be interested in the game, that could therefore be eventually led to your content that is, if better, then they're going to go to the better content. But they're at least let this person that's drumming up excitement, and it's kind of the same thing as like a hype man or advertisements. It's not the whole picture, but it's an interesting piece of the puzzle. It's going to get people to engage, and then when they're in the ecosystem, that's when they'll just run around, potentially become whales, potentially become light spenders, potentially support you on Twitch or watch videos for you. So to say that interested player generator should just be axed and gone, I think is going to have a big problem with the ecosystem of Genshin. I think we've already seen it happen. So yes, I think that whole idea is weird, where we should take everything and just move it to a different site, Honey Impact, Discords, all these kind of things, because again, it's like, okay, but that's just it doesn't address these underlying problems, which to me is the strongest arguments for leaks, which we'll get into. But off the top of my head, one of them is excitement for the future. The second thing is understanding of what you're going to do and feeling confident in where you're going to do it, i.e. if there's a character you're excited for and you're like, okay, this character fits into my thing, her constellations look fun, fuck it, I'm going to maybe put away some money if I'm working my job or something, and this is going to be the one character where I wail for. This is going to be the one character where I want to talk to my friends about how cool they are. And all that excitement gets its fucking throat ripped out if there's no one, if there's no real place to talk about it, and if there's only Discord to talk about it, then that's just a very niche community where I don't think that's going to benefit Genshin as a whole. Anyways, let's listen to more.
There is no reason to post leaks on YouTube, because then that has the ability to seek out people who don't want them and...
Okay, this is like back in the day when Tectone was first talking about this. This is where also I find myself being like, wait, where is the self-responsibility or self-accountability in any of this? And this is my only... Okay, so I may include this in the video, I may not, I don't know, because it starts blurring the lines, but... one of the things with specifically this content creator that I love up to pieces, I think he's incredibly charismatic. I think you guys should go follow him. He makes great videos. He kind of covers everything that normal kind of content creators can't, because he has a great audience, and they're very generous and etc. And he also takes care of them really well, all those things. But Tectone has this weird thing, and I've been following him for a while. Tectone has this thing where in the past, we 100% know that he has seen leaks. He's been to Honey Impact. This is evident in the Ganyu situation. This is evident in the Hu Tao situation. And then Mihoyo made it very clear to, like, we don't like leaks, so we're not going to do them. So then he became a very big advocate for not sharing leaks, which is fair. But the thing that always kind of weirds me out is that Tectone, and if anyone who's seen his stream, I think you can maybe echo this, or maybe it's just me in my head, but he will perfectly call out exactly what the character is. Like a couple days ago, I heard him talk about when he was going to get the glowing butterflies, essentially, that give you condensed resin. He was saying, wouldn't it be great if there was a character that like just made those things not run away from you? And isn't Sayu coming out? And that's sorry to like speculative. That's exactly what her ability is. And it wasn't made in a way, arguably, to be fair to him, people could come into his community and like say something really quick, but then why wouldn't you say that, to say somebody spoiled this for me and I'm not going to spoil it for you? Because if you're a big proponent of not spoiling things, then why would you say that? Because you know it's correct, you know that when it comes out it's going to be correct. It just seems weird, you know? Like there's things like that which to me I'm like, okay, I understand that, yeah, you're trying to like play within this realm, that's fair. But I don't understand the thing where like you can do it in this instance, in this weird specific way of like it being true and it not being true at the same time, or at least on the outside you're saying it could be, like all of us are saying it could be, but then it ends up being correct anyway. It just seems weird. Or there's been plenty of other instances where people are like, maybe you shouldn't do that. And to me, it's just weird. It's like people saying it's okay in this weird specific niche, but not in this specific niche. And we're going to talk about why I think people do it and why it makes sense to do it to some extent, and also the criticism against it, which I think there are some. Oh, and one more tangent. What do you call it? Tectone has this hilarious thing where like I watched him way back when he was on the come up with Genshin, and he's talked about how he used to be clairvoyant. Like just basically he used to be able to see stuff in the future, or like have weird premonitions, or like deja vu, all these kinds of things. And I think that's his kind of like overarching thread underneath everything. And I don't know if it was a meme. It kind of seemed like he was a bit like like that was a real thing. And to me, I'm just sitting there like, okay. So are we going to believe that Tectone is just incredibly fucking clairvoyant and can just like see into the future and shit? Or are we going to believe that we know he went to Honey Impact where we can see leaks, we know he made speculation about Hu Tao and etc. before things happened, and now we're just going to expect that he's just has not kept doing those things and keeping an eye on what's happening. Also, this is another thing. That Tectone doesn't know or like understand leaks. Well, how is he able to day one level up every character? You know leaks. Like, what? What are you talking about? You know leaks. Every character that you get is day one leveled up to the max point. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, it just feels weird for there to be this standard of like, and if it is the case of like distributing leaks, then there's instances, like I said about the whole butterfly thing, where you inadvertently weirdly do that as well. So that to me is the one other kind of thing that feels a little messy, and it's not that I don't think Tectone's in bad, but I think Tectone is literally operating under the guise of I want to be okay with the company, I want to make sure that I'm doing right by these people that have done right by me, which he's echoed in the future or in the past, which makes sense. But at the same time, I do see the value in helping people, nudge them and being like, hey, by the way, Sayu could give you like take away this headache for mobile players, so maybe possibly save, or maybe that could be something that we could talk about, because that's a thing. Everyone has this inclination or whatever, this desire for anyone who is not a big proponent of not being a part of the whole league thing to want to talk about it because it's exciting. And not even that, I think the one true criticism against leaks is that it could possibly set unrealistic expectations for the future. That is totally okay. But again, I don't think this is one of the things where it's like you got to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just make sure you communicate with your audience that this is all bullshit, that this could all be nothing. So if you get your heart entangled in this shit, it's your fault. Take responsibility for your own actions and stop. Or enjoy the community conversation. But don't get upset or yell at Mihoyo if you don't like the outcome, because it's not set in stone. It's on you for being disappointed because you didn't moderate your expectations. I think that is something that's, you don't have to throw out the baby with the bathwater if you communicate that with your audience. Anyways, we're not even a couple minutes in here. I'm going to start bumping on through. Forgive me. Yeah, I think these are interesting topics. So that's one of the things he just said is this.
YouTube, because then that has the ability to seek out people who don't want them and ruin their gameplay.
Okay, so that's the one thing that I think this is an interesting just debate in general, but it's the debate of spoilers. And to me, I've kind of recently come to the conclusion of, so I'm not allowed to talk about something that I find interesting. We could be in a group of 30 people who are just having a blast, and the one person comes into the stream or the community or whatever and says like, hey, stop talking, stop having a conversation about that, because I am going to get spoiled. And it's like, well, man, you can always walk out the door. I'm not controlling you, man. Like, you come back in 10 minutes, probably might not be talking about it anymore. Or like, we'll try to be vague a little bit about it or something. Like, you could do a courtesy, but just to demand that the whole thing stops and revolves around you is selfish, I think. Now, if I'm making a point to like go into streamers' fucking lobbies and be like, hey, I know you don't want spoilers, then that's selfish in your own right, because you're taking something away from them.
That is where I'm at. I have nothing against leaks. Am I going to do them? No. Am I going to look at them? No. But I have no problem with anybody.
Yeah, again, I just want to
seek out people who don't want them and ruin their gameplay. Okay? That is where I'm at. I have nothing against leaks. Am I going to do them? No. Am I going to look at them? No.
Am I going to look at them? No. How do you know to level up certain characters to the max point day one? Stuff like that. Or like, and again, you can maybe argue, well, I just look at that. Or I ask my chat and they filter the leaks for me. So, but then it's like, okay, that's a good argument if your chat like weirdly filters leaks for you, but not everyone has that ability. It's like simultaneously being in like, it's like a weird fucking Schrodinger's cat, where it's like, I both am entrenched in the leaks, but not, because there's like a weird system to distribution. Anyways, by the way, guys, I think, again, I think debates and conversations are interesting, especially when it's genuinely trying to talk about the good aspects and the bad aspects about both parties. Again, I'm not coming for Tectone. I think the guy's incredibly talented and creative and all these things. So it's not what I'm doing. But yeah, I'm not talking about the whole Mattjestic thing. That thing seems that, well, we can to some extent about leaks as a whole and should they be on YouTube, because Tectone makes it, and he hints at a pretty interesting argument.
Literally, I don't like seeing leaks on YouTube. I think they're stupid. I think they're bad, and I'd rather people not get spoiled. I'd rather, if people want leaks, people want to prepare for the future, go to a site.
See, that's the thing. YouTube is a site. YouTube is a site that cultivates a community the same way Discord is a community where you can. The only thing is that you type, and that you have to go into a room that says Genshin leaks, Genshin whatever, almost in the same way you go to a YouTube video and you say, oh, the video has an upcoming character, or says that it's going to talk about something like speculation about this new character we've seen a fucking half of an image of. I don't see how that's any different than going to a Discord and doing anything else like that. I do think it's different if you put stuff in the thumbnail and title that give away everything. Again, I think a good rule of thumb that that makes me feel like better about it, and that can kind of to act in this gray area, is to always make sure that the other party that is saying I don't want to see this can always not see this. If you choose to go into a video and you hear in the first minute the guy say, hey, by the way, we're going to be talking speculatively about some shit, speculatively, I can't say the word probably, I'm the worst. Anyways, regardless, then yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But if not, then what's the difference? I don't see the difference between a Twitter, to a YouTube, to a whatever. The only thing that I do see a difference in, and this is something that should be anecdotal, but again, this is just because I'm a fan of Tectone that I've been watching him for a while. I remember hearing him talk about the fact that he says he hates making videos where he talks about updates. He says it's boring. He doesn't like it. He prefers making the larger than life videos and stuff like that, which is fine, but what's not fine, or what I think is kind of like him shooting himself in his own foot, is the idea that people still watch that content and like that content and get excited and hopeful for that content. And when people are excited and hopeful for the future, they tend to want to stick around in the community and share the love around. They're excited to be in it. They can't wait for people to experience all of the things, and they're just waiting on like a kid on Christmas Day. And that's a good, happy kid, hopefully, unless your parents are shit. Anyways. So for him to say like that content shouldn't exist on this platform, to me is again, it's like, well, if people are going to that content, that the dude reading on a notepad, and they see your content, which is also labeled Genshin, so it's going to pop up in the Genshin sidebars and stuff like that, then people are going to go to your content and stick around. It's an ecosystem. I think if you start to like cannibalize that, you don't realize that you're cannibalizing yourself.
From an outside perspective looking in, my whole opinion on what happened with Mattjestic was just a dude speech. I thought this was freedom of speech. Why am I over and over again? I thought.
Okay, so this is an interesting part of the, like, again, I'm trying to cut out like the weird Mattjestic back and forth. I don't care about that. It's not relevant to just about anyone who isn't involved, I think. Regardless, the conversation about leaks and leaks being good for the community, bad for the community is interesting. And this whole idea of freedom of speech is where I kind of started to get a little bit like, I don't know, and you're starting to lose the arguments here a little bit. Not like lose the arguments, sorry, you're starting to you're starting to lose the thread of the argument, which could be strong, but you're starting to make it a little messy. And I do believe Tectone is actually like a psychology major or something like that, or something in that field. So he knows a lot about this kind of stuff. In fact, I've ever heard him on streams reference this kind of stuff.
I had freedom of speech. I thought this was freedom of speech. Why?
Yeah, so this is referring to Mattjestic when he got his channel taken away or striked. He's like, I thought I had freedom of speech.
Am I being censored? Why am I being censored? A lot of people think that freedom of speech is actually what it is, and I don't get people for being.
Yeah, so he's saying that freedom of speech isn't basically freedom of being able to cause harm. So or like being able to verbally cause harm or verbally cause fear. So you're not able to say, I'm going to kill you, or say fire in a theater. That's what he's saying.
Whatever it is you want to say, as long as it does not inhibit the rights of another person and or body, like a company or the.
And then this is the kind of only issue that I have.
Government. Let's say you were at a gas station, okay? And you're pumping up fuel, all right? And a dude walks out in front of you, looks you dead in the eyes and says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to slice your fucking neck.
Okay, I gotta stop. Okay, so this is where Tectone, at least in my opinion, the argument falls apart because he's doing this thing called a strongman argument or a strawman argument, where basically it's like, you know, people are doing this when they bring up Hitler for no reason or Nazis. They're just like, hey, guess what? We're talking about like soups, and they're talking about fucking mass genocide out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, guys, they just want us to wear masks. Like, what's happening? No, I don't think. Let's wait until like shit actually. What? So when Tectone's talking about someone going up to you and saying, I'm gonna rip your throat out, it's a strongman argument. It's trying to be like, I mean, yes, they're under the same guise of a rule, but that doesn't mean they're under the same level. You're comparing fucking a bullet to a fucking nuke. It doesn't make any sense. This is just a tiny thing where I think it seems like it's a strongman argument trying to force you into submission about in that way. And again, people could strongman the argument in the same way. So Tectone is saying that, like, you know, freedom of speech when you go against a certain body, i.e. a company and stuff like that, is not okay either. But people could strongman the argument and say, well, yeah, I don't think maybe that's fair, right? You know, the company owns this stuff, but, you know, is it fair when a pharmaceutical company develops a pill for like $1 and sells it for $200,000 when it could be saving children that could be dying by the droves? I mean, yeah, it's business, but it certainly seems a little fucky and it seems a little gross. So again, we're not talking about fucking kids dying or some shit or getting stabbed in the throat. So to be, I'm just like, okay, come on, let's bring it back down, my dudes. Also, my vein in my fucking forehead's popping up. Forgive me.
I'm going to throw rocks at your fucking house, and I'm going to punch your wife in the face.
Jesus.
You just saw.
For those guys who do not know, Tectone was a wrestler, pro wrestler, or a wrestler, I believe, before he got into Twitch, and yeah, the beautiful things there.
So happened to spot a police officer across the street.
This is where things get really weird, because it's kind of talks about the whole freedom of speech thing as. It's like freedom of information is what we're talking about, like freedom of information, and it's kind of a back and forth thing where, like, again, there's great arguments for not having that. Where, like, yeah, it's totally acceptable for you to have things that you desire to keep private, and that's fine. But there's also examples where companies leverage that to absolutely fucking eviscerate countries even. Again, it's a little bit of a strongman argument, but still, there's things like that can happen. So I understand that there's a lot of nuance in that, but the idea that MiHoYo is somehow this is the kind of overarching thread, which I do think is a very strong argument. I wish kind of Tectone would have stayed with that argument, but do leaks harm MiHoYo? We'll get into that
and
in a minute.
Here's the other thing, okay?
Okay, here we go.
He thought that he was being censored, that MiHoYo or YouTube wasn't letting him say what he wanted to say. That's not censorship. Here's another scenario that I'd like to spin for you. You walk into a 7-Eleven, okay? You grab a Snickers bar and you leave the store with it and you sell it for $2, okay? If the store clerk stopped you from stealing the Snickers bar and reselling it, That's not called, why are you censoring me? That's called, you're not gonna steal my fucking shit.
Okay, so this is where things get a little, again, I think, again, it's a stronger argument, 100% agree. This is interesting, I like this, this makes me excited almost. But one of the things that I think this kind of talks about, first of all, I don't think it's a fair comparison to go into a convenience store and take something and say, I'm stealing this money, or I'm stealing this chocolate bar, eat shit, and then you fucking run away like some sort of delinquent. What I do think is a better, and this is the two sides, of which I think are very good arguments. One of them is that you are taking from the company and you are distributing it for your own malicious gain. Eat shit. Disgust me. Which could be said for every single shred of gameplay that is uploaded to YouTube. Full stop. We're all fucking stealing. Like, of course we are. What are you fucking talking about? Anyways, but, and this is the other argument, which I think could be leveraged to also include leaks. But this could be like me going to a convenience store and saying, hey, I would would it be okay if I grab this? And maybe this is the argument for like you actually have to check, but maybe we don't. Maybe we go a little bit crazy. Guy takes a fucking convenience store chocolate bar, all right? Now, he takes it without the guy knowing. Pretty rough, right? He's stealing, technically. But now, and this is very much like the very foundation of YouTube gaming. It was very much here happening. People just taking gameplay and be like, fuck, I hope I don't get fucked. Anyways, so you take a thing and then you try to redistribute it and share your interests. Because back in the day, you couldn't make any money on YouTube. You just kind of uploaded gameplay videos because you were cool, thought it was cool. And you wanted to talk to people about these cool gameplay experiences that you had, i.e. Call of Duty and shit like that. Anyways, or Minecraft. You take the fucking Snickers bar, and then instead of being like, hey, can you let me pay me $10 for this $5 candy bar that I stole from this guy, or maybe $2 because you're selling it at a net loss. Regardless, instead it's like, this chocolate bar is amazing. I'm not even gonna eat it. I'm just gonna tell you how fucking fantastic it is. Except a lot of times, people buy the chocolate bar and then freely run around and say, this chocolate bar is the fucking best. This is the greatest chocolate bar in my fucking life. I'm so excited. Have you tasted the new flavor? It's the fucking best. And it's just a shit ton of free advertisement or fostering excitement or interest in this random chocolate bar that some guy, some Joe Schmo seem to be really into. And passion is something that human beings understand greatly. When you hear someone talk passionately, you Tectone a lot of times, you're interested because he's loud, he's ferocious in a way, and it's good. And to me, that is that is a more fair argument for what's happening. Is someone taking information that they're excited about and sharing it. And in this instance, it's not tangible like a chocolate bar that had a factory involved in it and all these kind of things. It's this idea for a character. It could literally be a fucking name. I still think people that is evident. There's a bunch of people that go and apeshit in like Discord things about a fucking file name. They don't even have to have a character model. Literally, a person could write down a fucking name about a character and then upload it into the data thing, and people be like, "Oh my god, what if it's a boy? What if it's a cat girl?" Some stupid nonsense. Anyways, so that can foster and kind of flurry this out. Anyways, to me, I think that's a stronger argument. I think that is, again, it's like that is the backbone of all that is YouTube. Now, this is the other, and this is I think is the strongest point of this whole argument is that. MiHoYo is the person that gets to decide that. Now, same, but arguably similar to YouTube, gaming companies, some of them didn't like it. Some of the people in the gaming sphere didn't enjoy the fact that some people were leaking things. Or some people were uploading gameplay of their game. People are stealing our whole game. If they see this gameplay, they're not going to purchase the game because they're going to see the gameplay, not knowing that it's the excitement that even gets your customer to act in the first place. So excitement is the main reason why people buy things anyway. And people's main thing and this is just marketing stuff in general for those guys who are curious, the main thing that customers, and you as a customer that you may not be aware of, that you need to try to fight is fear. Fear of loss, fear of buying something that is not worth of buying. And if you can somehow find a way to make sure a person feel good, really good about buying something, then you have them kind of forever. I.e. games, i.e. gameplay, i.e. being able to see that the product that you're getting is worth every cent that you're going to be spending into it, and that you like that. Not only that, but simultaneously fostering free advertising and a community that can flourish and love everything that is part of that, everything that you design, create, and gobble up. Anyways, tangent aside, what if MiHoYo is like, no, we don't want this is bad. Because a lot of people in the gaming sphere back on YouTube did the same thing. They were like, no, this is people taking our game and devaluing it. It's a good way to put it, devaluing it. And this comes to the overarching question of this whole kind of video, and Tectone and Mattjestic and MTash and all these people who are kind of like, again, everyone is half in, half out, and it's hilarious because everyone's at least half in. Like, everyone has characters built the minute they drop. So it's like, guys, what are we doing here? Everyone's fucking lying, okay? Anyways, sorry. And again, there could be some weird loopholes where people get their community to talk to them, sure. Is leaked content bad for MiHoYo? Now, this is entirely for MiHoYo to decide, for sure. Again, I think it's the same thing as the YouTube sphere. YouTube, in my opinion, is an ecosystem. That's not in my opinion, that's how it works. If you go into any sort of, if every video that is made by Genshin typically either has Genshin in the title or Genshin in the tags, and if you put that in the tags, you are part of this whole weird system, this symbiotic kind of relationship within every content creator everywhere, which is scary and also great. And this is something I was talking about at the beginning, but what do leak people do on the negative? Let's start there. What people do leak content on a negative is they forcibly spoil people who have zero interest and just want to be surprised by what is going to come, right? That's fair. I think it's the strongest argument against leak content. I think it can be patched. I think it can be fixed. I think it could be just like, hey, dum-dum, before you enter into this video, if you do get spoiled and you do have higher expectations than normal, probably level that shit out, and it would just consider this to be us talking about with friends. Because that is something that I'm kind of going off on another tangent, but that's something that I love. And let's save it to the end. Is just the hanging out with friends and talking about something that you're excited for. And yeah. And also, I think MiHoYo is working with the conception, which I don't think is entirely wrong. But it's the Zhongli fiasco. When people had an unrealistic expectation of a character, in my opinion, kind of facilitated also by the developers, where like you see Zhongli popping off doing a bunch of badass melee flurries, and then you just know that you're never ever supposed to do that. It's a little odd, but I digress. Regardless, but people could have seen the Honey Impact, and I think people did. People seen in Honey Impact that how crazy Zhongli was going to be. He was going to have great melee scaling. He was going to have this fucking dense as shit shield. He was going to be able to drop a fucking rock on everybody and smash them to shit. Fuck yeah. But then he came out and he wasn't able to do half of those things. You know, he was able to do the unpenetrable shield and the rock hit pretty hard, and stuff like that. But yeah, people had this unrealistic expectation of him being a DPS. Again, I think kind of fostered by MiHoYo to some extent by their advertising team. It was a great trailer, but it just kind of gave people a little bit of a skewed perception, I think. Regardless, this ended up making people fucking pissed. People were like, no, this character needs to be this. And MiHoYo, I think at that moment, determined leaks or like what do you call it, that Honey Impact essentially as villains, people who like you contributed, and also content creators contributed to the misperception of this character. This to me is MiHoYo, and this is my kind of, we're gonna get into the good aspects of leaks. I think is that all that the people who are making content doing, the people who made leak content, what was all that they were doing was drumming up unrealistic expectations for what is to come in the future. Some of them I do think were. I think it's undeniable that some people were like, Zhongli's gonna be the brokenest character ever, and then it came out and it was kind of like a whimper. And I think Tectone knows this as well, because fucking he thought Ganyu was not gonna be as cracked because whatever, but then they reduced her cooldown. Arguably she showed a bit nuts, but still. Point being is that everyone was subject to that who was leveraging with not real information. But I don't think that is on MiHoYo. I think it's on the viewer and the content creators to leverage themselves in a smarter way. Do not guarantee that this is going to be the outcome. Say, again, this is all bullshit. This could just change. Make sure your expectations are here just to be excited and interested about the future. And that to me is again, when I say throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I think that is exactly what it is. MiHoYo is like, all leak content is gone because it is bad. It sets this unrealistic expectation, and we want to control our community kind of getting information. And this to me is where like the entire problem within Genshin is. And I don't know how you patch this without the whole content creators. Weirdly, content creators facilitate an environment. So if they know if they know that the community is bored out of their mind and there's nothing to play and do day by day, unless you're a whale who can constantly do res and refreshes and shit, and then congratulations, you got another 30 minutes. Woo-wee. Anyways. Then the content creators are like, fuck, I need to come up with something. And yes, Tectone can go and do crazy things and come up with crazy video ideas, game shows, and all these things, which is lovely. But then there's also people who are like, well, wait, shouldn't I also try to make people excited for the future? That way they think it's worth staying on this ship and not abandoning it entirely. Shouldn't I talk about what's to come and be excited for it? And the problem that I think so many people have is the reason why people do go to leak content is because MiHoYo is so terrible about releasing content in a drip feed, which people kind of need. And that's the thing it's kind of like this overarching problem that I've seen forever. You're playing Genshin constantly. You maybe got a new character, maybe you didn't, and maybe you're sitting there waiting for what to do and you don't have anything to do. You already have the good artifacts and you're kind of just stuck. You're just doing nothing. So then, maybe an event finally comes out, and you're like, oh my god, an event! And then you go to play the event, and then you're like, it's badminton, kind of. Just badminton with like a weird kind of thing. Alright, well, let's go play some badminton. Play badminton for 5 minutes. Alright, well, I'm done playing badminton. I guess I'll go do nothing, because I have no resin to spend, and I'm kind of just stuck. And I have nothing to do. Do a rock farm for the 50th time? Meanwhile, you have games like Warzone or Apex Legends, Fortnite, whatever, constantly screaming about what's to come, exciting things, and replayable faculties constantly being implemented into their game, if it's not built on that on a foundational level anyway. So then, what do people take solace in? The future. Because the present is fucking boring and there's nothing here anyway. So then you take solace in the future, and then you watch videos. There's a reason why those videos get so many views and so much high engagement. They're like fucking 20 minutes a piece, and all of them are getting fucking fully watched. There's a reason why people desire that. Instead of saying people shouldn't like that, understand why people are feeling the need to have it anyway. That's the problem. It's like you're saying, we're gonna plug this hole from leaking, not realizing why the fuck is there water coming out of this pipe anyway? Where the fuck is it gonna go when I pop this closed? Oh wait, that burst, and now everything's gone to shit because that was facilitating pressure decrease within the people having content with the future. And again, people could, and this is the thing, I was really hoping to see MiHoYo knock that up a lot, because they're like, we're not getting it, we're no longer allowing leaked content. And I was like, okay, let's see how this plays out. They didn't fucking change anything. They're just the same bullshit. And again, all you see is viewership decrease. Banners who people wail on and spend money on decrease. And it's not like the characters aren't getting stronger. It's not like the weapons aren't getting powerfuler. It's just that there's not any hope for the future and people don't feel stabilized, so that when Warzone comes around, they're like, fuck it, let me go play Warzone. And then they're like, what, that Genshin game? I don't want to farm for Primo Gems just to be able to have the chance to do anything, so I'm just going to wait. Oh, maybe there's a big 1.2 patch or 2.0 patch. Okay, maybe I'll jump back for that. But then what happens after that? You get a bunch of little tiny events that you're like, well, fuck. I don't want to play badminton one more time, or I don't want to fight a boss once and just be done, and then just fighting the same boss over and over again for 0 resources. Like, AR's gone. Fucking most people have a decent team at this point. Yeah. And again, the hope for the future. That is the like, again, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Yes, people can have unrealistic expectations. I think it's you as a company can reason with those, and also gain the benefits of leaked content, which is excitement. Like, again, this is one of the things I wanted to mention, but I love that so much. I love the notion of being able to sit down with your friends. Back in high school, I remember I used to do this. I used to sit down with my friends and talk about how excited I was for the new Overwatch character that was released, or the new Battleborn character, whatever. I enjoyed the prospect of being excited for characters and talking about what they could potentially be and how they could fit. That's why I love Genshin so damn much. I think that's why so many people do, is because there's a sense of community and sense of excitement. But there's, man, fuck me, so many times there's nothing going on, and it's kind of a shitty thing to say in general. And I realize that it's a shitty thing to say because MiHoYo is pumping out content more than most other developers. But it's the fact that it's not replayable, it never stays, and they're not increasing the density and the actual consistency of the whole world. It's pointless when you can play something and be done with it, and then it's done forever. There's no progression. There's no accelerated growth. There's nothing. And again, leaked content can patch that to some small extent and give you hope for the future and excitement for what's to come, and make the wait less bad. And this is the last thing that I think is a pretty relevant argument to the whole structure of this whole is leaks bad thing. And this is the one that I had since the beginning of when this kind of argument was starting to kind of rear its head, or this conversation, or kind of positives and negatives kind of conversation was going back and forth. My question is to you guys, do you think Genshin Impact would have been as successful if there were not people who were leaking things, i.e. Honey Impact, i.e. these incredible, like, this is how much you need to level up this character or to prepare for this character so that you can actually play them day one and you don't have to sit there and watch other people play them and you can't play them and it ends up being shitty. Do you think, let me streamline my question, do you think that Genshin Impact would have been as successful without leaked content? And some people might say, yeah, absolutely, it would have been as successful. Well, first of all, we won't be able to know. So it's kind of a shitty question, I'll admit. But what I will say is recently they've been really cracking down on leaked content specifically within YouTube. Most people are afraid to upload anything. Any content that is shown it gets immediately struck down. So then there bears the question, since there's no more leaked content, shouldn't theoretically Genshin be on the up? Or whatever, especially considering a lot of people would consider 1.6 to be an amazing update. You got a whole new bunch of islands. Genshin's pretty good to be playing right now. Also, people love Xiao. It's a new, fun character. People saying it's the funnest character they've ever played in Genshin. But yet, viewers are down. Players, I think, are down. And certainly, spending is way, way down. And what is that tied to? Is it tied to the aspect of low communication about the future? Kind of. I mean, we only know that characters exist and not necessarily what they do. I mean, now that 2.0 is trailers released, we have an idea, which is nice, but certainly would have been nice to have when we were playing badminton and not knowing what the heck's to come. I digress. I think there is a huge, huge value. This is my opinion. This is where we kind of differ. I think there's a huge, huge value in people's ability to be excited for the future. And MiHoYo, in my opinion, does not do a very good job about that, especially with just the nature of events. If people were satisfied in the present, they would not live in the future. If people had content to consistently play, to play every day, to feel like they weren't pulled away for like to go play Warzone, Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever the fuck, then they would be content and they wouldn't really care about the future because the present is more than enough. But when the present is not nearly enough, people feel fucking lost. And unless you want them to abandon shit, which a lot of people are doing because there's no cultivation of excitement and hope for the future, then people leave. And it's funny because Tectone is one of those people that I think is fantastic because he's very much about like, I want to cultivate the community and bring people together and excite people again, but I mean, a personality is amazing and can go a very far way. But when the thing that we're playing, that people are excited for and truly deeply love, including myself, I think Genshin is a beautiful game. But yeah, this has kind of just been a video I thought was interesting. In fact, maybe let me just skim through Tectone and see if I'm not missing anything.
Feeding into his own it's not because they hate you. It's actually because they love you. This
is a quick side thing. Tectone kind of made the argument of people in his community feeding into his delusion. This is, again, in my opinion, it's a strongman argument. It's saying that, like, oh, if you like this, then you're feeding into his... We're not talking about fucking heroin, and I think he brings that up, about being a drug addict. And I'm like, my God, this is not apples to oranges. This is apples to fucking poison, rat poison. Shit. Anyways, to me, this is, again, it's a strongman argument because the true argument here is, if somebody has bad behavior, should you tell them that it's bad? Yes. But it has to be bad behavior. If it's just some sort of a disagreement about how a community can gain steam, then I would say look at the data and then go from there. I don't think the data looks good for no leaks happening on YouTube. A lot of the creators that did heavily do it, and again, stir excitement and hope for the future, don't do it. And now you see YouTube viewers go down, and I think it's because most people have just either just said, fuck it, I'm going to go play another game until Genshin has a big update, which it's about to have, which is good. Or they're just going to go to Discords, which I think suffers Genshin as a whole because YouTube has this amazing ability to reach so many people and have everyone, same as Twitch, have so many people come together about excitement for a character. When a character does drop and people see it and they already get to experience it, and it's great. And we've seen in the past when leaks were rampant that didn't take away from it. It wasn't like because people were excited for who was it? Hu Tao, and people knew her kit. It didn't mean that people were not as excited for the videos to come out about Hu Tao. In fact, I think it was more because people were so excited to be able to share the thing that they knew for such a long time, for maybe the Tectone of the universe, who supposedly doesn't know about leaks, to finally like talk to him about it and just have this free flowing back and forth, instead of a person being like, yeah, so there's that character that came out. I didn't know what she was all about, so I didn't prepare to buy her, and it's not enough time to basically prepare in 20 days to get enough Primo Gems, so Yeah, and I don't have the money to spend, or I would have maybe not gotten that fucking whatever, that TV I bought this month, and I would have maybe saved and maybe bought it next month and then got Hootao this month because it's a limited time thing, you know. Fuck it. There's stuff like that that's all a part of the algorithm or the equation of people. Like, again, and this is the thing that I like a lot. I like systems. I like understanding why people do what they do and how a system is so important. And you take away one bolt from a system, and that shit can fall apart quite fast. And again, I think it's about addressing the issues within the thing that is not serving you, rather than just ripping it all apart and then being shocked when things start falling, when everything starts falling apart. Again, ideally, and this is kind of the way I try to go forward, because this is, again, I took all of this and I started trying to put it onto me as a creator, because to me, I think the best thing moving forward, and I hope it works out, is to do everything that I said. I will never, ever probably talk about characters that are not even hinted at, shown at, or anything like that. I might talk about it on stream just as like, hey, did you hear about that one thing? Which I think is okay. So like, this is the argument of Tectone being like, well, that's their intellectual property. How dare you redistribute it? I can't say on a stream, like, have you seen that character? She looks so cool. Bang, gone, bitch, fuck you. It's like, what? Fuck? I just wanted to say the character looked cool. Fuck you. You hinted at it existing, you're gone. This is where shit like that falls apart. Is because you have to put it in a specific box, and everyone does this. Everyone's like, yeah, we need a character that's a cryo, two-handed sword user who scales off physical damage. That's what we need. Hope we get her soon, and it happens, and you're like, oh shit. Anyway, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I can cut this down a lot into the core components of the argument. Forgive me if it's not as sturdy. It's because I had to cut a lot of stuff out. But yeah, moving forward, every video, because I like, one of the videos that we're making currently that I really am enjoying is the making a team. And it's, to me, I'm going to try to make videos, if it is about future content, I'm going to try to make it in a way that doesn't jeopardize MiHoYo's money. So I'm not going to tell people not to wish, because that's a little fucky, and I don't want to, poke the bear. But I do want to talk about, like, again, the one of the things that I love to pieces is just being excited with people, talking about them, about things that are going to come that's interesting, and to be excited for what that's coming to the future, or in the future. So to me, if I can somehow try to do that while simultaneously not giving away relatively anything besides maybe like resources to level up that character, that way if you do plan to get her, you can actually play her as soon as possible, which I don't think is bad, because I think if MiHoYo, if you want to make your money, that's a good way to still make your money. And then the fourth thing is to just tell people exactly when they come in that this is all speculation, and if you get your hopes up and whatnot for this, and that's on you. It's your fault. You're the one that fucked up in your unrealistic expectations for what's to come with it, which is to say that no expectations should be had, because it's all random. It's just us sitting on like the fucking playground talking about a character that could be neat and how that they could maybe work with other characters, and it feels sad that is like that's a potential future that may not be able to happen. You know what I mean? It makes me feel sad. I think that's a nice thing to be able to do. Oh, and this is the one thing that kind of culminates. I should have mentioned this also. This is the last thing. Well, done. Sorry. But Tectone mentions the fact that he tried to warn Mattjestic about, stop doing leaks, because MiHoYo clearly doesn't like it. So that to me is like my biggest thing that I agree with. Like, to me, I'm like, the only thing that I have done leak-wise is refer to skills maybe having shorter cooldowns, and how that could maybe be less strong, which is why you should have this character. That's it. And it's just because I'm like, just in case you're wailing on this character, maybe consider leveling this character up. That way you're not just stuck with so much nonsense to do when you get her and you can't even enjoy the character because you're too busy trying to work around the problem. That way you can actually profit as soon as you're enjoying the experience. But again, I don't showcase characters in thumbnails. I don't talk about I don't show Honey Impact, their exact scaling numbers, because that could change. I just generally talk about maybe characters have can do two things, like maybe Sayu. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to spoil it. I didn't do the preamble about saying, hey, this is a place where just nonsense exists. Anyways, but yeah, I agree with that sense of hey, probably stay away from leaks entirely. But again, the reason why I feel at odds with that statement, because it was a company that said that this is not something that they want or are okay with, and you're like, okay, And then you're like, but do they know that it's not just all bad? It offers a service, excitement, fostering community. Are they planning on like coming up with methods of like more updates for the game, a roadmap to talk about something like maybe small like little insider details about a character's skill and how they design that character, something? No, they're doing none of that. They're doing the exact same thing. And the events are still 5 minutes and they're not staying. So the present is still really dry and barren. Oh, okay. I guess you said no? Okay. I really like this game and I want it to succeed. I'm worried that future is going to be bad. So a part of me wants to do a little bit just so I can kind of say it, but that's fucked up too. I don't know. And then there's the argument, which is always kind of fucky, which is monetary incentive and gain, which is, again, could be said for everybody who uploads a video game. Or anything, or like does anything. You could be like, are you doing this because you actually care, or because you're just trying to make money off of me? And it's like, well, this could be an argument forever. This could be it's just a weird fucking nightmare. But it is a good argument, a good like conversation back and forth. Is why do people do what they do? Are there motivators or incentives that are unjust by your moral value? Maybe. Regardless, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make this like a 20-minute video just addressing this stuff because I thought it was interesting. Now again, fucking nail that thing in the coffin. What? Nail that nail in the coffin. That doesn't sound right either. Regardless, Tectone seems lovely. Mattjestic seems wholesome, and people seem like they see demons in his eyes, which seems, people are crazy. Anyways, regardless, I don't know. What harm have these people genuinely done? Fuck all. Fuck all. I'm sorry. They just seem like, I'm like, okay, what? They told you something about a fucking video game? Really? Alright guys, they're truly heinous people in this world. Let's chill out. People are people, as Tectone also said in the beginning of the video. Again, I think Tectone's lovely, very entertaining. Again, I just think the strongest argument for leaks is excitement for the future, and preparation is something he also mentioned, but excitement for the future I think is the strongest argument, because again, we see time and time again what happens when the base game, i.e. events, are 5 fucking minutes long. And people are just like, well, cool, now I'm just gonna go play Warzone because there's literally nothing to do. Literally nothing to do. What the fuck? Unless I want to spend an extra, what, $30 a day or $20 or $15 or whatever it would be a day to get resin refreshes so that I can play for, oh, wait for it, 5 minutes a day. Wild. What? Massive. Sure. Anyways. So again, I think if MiHoYo addresses those problems and makes the base, the now fucking stellar and things to do on repeat and things that constantly feel like you have stuff to achieve and accomplish, fucking good. I don't think we'll need any leaks because the present will be more than enough and we won't have to live in the future to be excited for what's to come. But at last, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know nothing about nothing. I just do my best, and I like strong arguments and interesting debates. And yeah. Again, I'm open to hearing a different side of the coin, but these are the things when I ask myself, am I a problem? I don't mean to be selfish, but it's like, am I contributing to suffering or negative emotion in this world? And is it something that compromises my value? And I was like, well, maybe, but I also think the value that it gives is greater than the random person who got spoiled. I think the value that it gives for excitement to the future and etc. Now, I do think you can have your cake and eat it too. I think you can not be a dickhead who spoils things in thumbnails and titles and still make people excited for the future and what's to come, and not play this weird back and forth game of like, I know what's going to happen, but I'm going to pretend it doesn't happen. And yeah, I already mentioned the whole like everyone. I said, dude, man, if you know leaks, if you've looked into shit, everybody fucking knows. Everybody knows. I haven't seen one person who's like. And it's like, motherfucker, I heard. Why do you have the character materials, you rat? What is that? I'm kidding when I say rat, by the way. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for this. Again, this is not drama. If this does spark any drama, I will not respond. I just want to make people fun content and offer value to them. And it's a shame that we can't do the whole excitement value anymore. Or if we can, it's only going to happen, what, a week before the event goes live, which seems relatively redundant because I feel like people fall off a lot sooner than that. But here's hoping for the future. Again, if this is MiHoYo, this is the route that MiHoYo wants to go down, I say I have no control. I'm just gonna do the best that I can, and yeah. Try not to poke the bear at all. Try to work with them as best I can, even though they don't know who I am because I'm a little baby, little baby on the internet. But again, I think we've already been seeing the feedback of not having any leaks and not having any like security in the future and feeling hopeful for the future. I think we've already experienced that and feel that. But maybe I'm just a loony person. Regardless, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this was not to come after anyone. It's just, I didn't even want to get into the weird, like, fucking back and forth of Mattjestic weirdness. I just wanted to address the strongest arguments for leaks and no leaks. And there are some strong ones for leaks. Like, again, again, I mentioned it, but like the idea that you are taking control away from a company to decide what they want to do with their IP, it can be a negative. Again, I think it's very reminiscent, very reminiscent of the YouTube gaming on YouTube at its infancy, where it was incredibly positive, and only a couple of the developers that were able to see that fucking popped off in a big way, i.e. the notches, the Minecraft, and all those things could arguably be considered as how that game was incredibly successful as well, because people shared their experience and shared what they built. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best, and also, again, go subscribe to Tectone, maybe even Mattjestic. They seem like both incredible, lovely human beings, and I just wanted to talk about the ideas and the strongest arguments that both sides seem to prevail in. Little much, sorry. Thank you, and goodbye.